Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. Each week, while working on the new album, the Dead Milkmen ask each other a question.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Big Questions. Tonight, we're doing a big question entitled More Songs About Buildings and Food. And the question is, please tell us about your favorite, or just tell us about a song, about a building, about food, and also maybe you can include, maybe you have a favorite or a Talking Heads song that you like. Okay, so my three songs, a song about a building, and I chose Towers of London by XTC, which is the second single off their Black Sea album, which came out in 1980. The song, Andy Partridge wanted to write a song about London, and he was thinking of calling it singular Tower of London, but he decided to change the whole aspect of the song, and he called it Towers of London, and it's more about, like he says in an interview, it was a paean to the working man, the laborer who built and was still building the modern city of London. So that's my song about a building that I like. That whole album is really great. If you want to know more about the actual Tower of London, it's a big castle kind of in the middle of London. It was built by William the Conqueror in the 1070s. It's been a prison, and it's where they keep the crown jewels. They have some ravens that keep an eye on things there. There's lots of tradition and lots of ghost stories and tales of terror and execution in the actual Tower of London, singular. So there's that. Song about food that I chose for tonight's big question is Cheese and Onions by the Rutles, written by the late great Neil Innes. It's a parody. Certainly it sounds like John Lennon style. It's certainly the vocals and everything. It was seen in the movie or album Yellow Submarine Sandwich. The song incorporates the Rutles' more trippier side, and it kind of harkens to the Beatles' Day in the Life. Cheese and Onions. And my Talking Heads song that I'm going to mention tonight is off the album Fear of Music, and it's a song called Heaven, which I really, really like. Kind of reminds me of like the Velvet Underground, maybe Lou Reed a little bit in his mellower mode. The lyrics refer to, quote, a place where nothing ever happens, which is kind of an interesting aspect to the song. It's been covered by a lot of people, at least a dozen times, a lot of people. One of my favorite covers is by the late Jimmy Scott, or sometimes known as Little Jimmy Scott. He was a popular singer in the 40s and 50s and kind of faded away in the 60s, and he like became a janitor, and he got out of the music business for a long time. It wasn't until the 80s when he decided to try his hand at music again, and his manager booked him in a couple of gigs, and he got noticed by some industry folks, and he kind of had a resurgence in career. I actually got to see him in Philly perform, and it was an amazing show. Some of you might know, if you're fans of the TV show, the original TV show Twin Peaks, he actually sang the song Sycamore Trees in the climactic final episode of that original Twin Peaks series. So you can find him doing a cover. We'll provide links to all these songs, of course. So those are my three songs. Check them out.
The song Heaven appears in the movie Philadelphia, a cover of it. Yeah. Which is just the way that the cinema treats Philadelphia. You guys get a movie, that's the good news. The bad news, Tom Hanks gets AIDS and dies. I'm like, yeah, that's just the way they treat us here. It's just how it is. Like everything else, like New York, everybody gets laid and gets a car. But now Philadelphia.
That was the last good Tom Hanks movie, I think.
What was, or that was?
That was, because I thought Tom Hanks was great before that. He's in a lot of great movies. Man with One Red Shoe was The Money Pit was funny.
And he was still cranking out some good stuff. I think he did a couple of good things after that. I don't know.
Toy Story.
Yeah, but then he went on to be the guy, the Halloween guy. Oh, why is I'm blanking
You
on
remember
everything.
his son rapping?
David S. Pumpkins. He became David S. Pumpkins. Yeah, his son's a nut job. Yeah. But David S. Pumpkins was awful. All right, we went way off script. And because I'm up next, we'll go off script again and again. Just a little bit of info, folks. Last night when we were in practice, we were setting up, and I was talking about just how there are pretty much no good songs about food. If you're setting out to write a song about food, don't do it. And I was saying that like every song about food is always like happy and upbeat, and it reminds me of the Wiggles song "Fruit Salad," you know. And it's like every song about food sounds like a Matt and Kim song. Like, I like beans, Matt. I like beans too, Kim. And so I was talking about the Wiggles, and Dan suggested that the Wiggles should become a porn rock band because they have the name the Wiggles. And at that point, we just broke everything down and went home. There's no use in practicing when it reaches that point. By far, we know what the worst song about food is. It's the song "Cherry Pie" by Warrant. Whoa, I think that song might be a double entendre. Whoa. And also, I realized I had it stuck in my head because I was thinking about how bad it was. I realized it cribs a lot from Magic Man by Heart. And of course, Magic Man by Heart is about Charles Manson, mandatory Charles Manson reference. So then I thought, okay, is there a good food song from the last 20 years? And the only thing I could come up with originally in my head was EPR EDP by Grendel off of the fantastic Time Wave Zero album. EPR EDP stands for Eat Pork Rinds, Eat Dead Pigs. And it's a pretty good song, but it's like, that album is perfect. It's one of the best albums ever made, but that's like kind of the weakest song. Like, you know, they made it to kind of have like a little novelty type thing on there. And as far as novelty songs go, it's great, but it just, a lot of people, if you're introducing your kids to that album, don't start with that track. Start with Out of My Head. But so I thought, okay, what do I do? I got no food songs. And then I thought, what's another type of food? Yes, cannibalism. I've got like 10,000 albums digitalized. I figure I've got to have at least 600 or 700 songs about cannibalism, probably more, probably like 1,000. So I just went alphabetically down through them to find a song about cannibalism. And lo and behold, I was in the A's when I hit upon the song Cannibals by the fantastic band Ambassador 21. It's off of their Human Rage album, which came out in 2016. And the song is fantastic. It's a reworking of Eye of the Tiger with people screaming at you. This is for the advanced class. I know some of you are like, oh, I listen to some pretty wild stuff. Have you ever heard of a band called Tune Yards? But this is really in your face, and they're a great band and they deserve more love. So yeah, please check out the song Cannibals. And if you're writing music, you have a choice between writing about food or cannibalism. Remember, cannibalism is food. And there's even the band song about cannibalism, like I Eat Cannibals. It's incredible. It's a great song. It is a really good song. All right, better move on. Now, buildings. Okay, buildings a little bit easier. Guys, what is the most famous address in the world? Does anybody know? Anybody want to take a stab at it?
123 Main Street.
Nope. 25. What's that?
Number 10 Downing Street.
Nope. No, 25 Cromwell Street.
Oh,
25 Cromwell Street. It's also my favorite Yelp review I ever saw was somebody said, this place had a real homey feeling, like 25 Cromwell Street. So then I thought, well, what's a song about 25 Cromwell Street? And I remembered that Apoptygma Berzerk has a song called 25 Cromwell Street, but I didn't want to use it for two reasons. First is it's not the best song. And second, we mention Apoptygma Berzerk on pretty much every show. I think we've mentioned them more times than we've mentioned XTC. Yeah, it's pretty much like I can't get these guys to shut up about that band. So I'm like, okay, we overuse Apoptygma Berzerk. What do we have? And then I thought the worst song about a building is Winchester Cathedral. I hate that song. Nah, 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 wham. I don't know if the guy who composed that is dead. I will urinate on his grave. But I thought, okay, Cathedral. I went thinking, all right, Temple of Love, that's a little too old to use. Lords of the New Church song, New Church, a little too old to use. I thought, aha, Shriekback. That's right, folks. In 2018, Shriekback put out an album called Why Anything? Why This, which is a great title. And the album kills. Shriekback have still got it. The album is fantastic. There's a song on that called Church of the Louder Light. Again, the descriptions will be filled for this video will be filled with lots and lots of links. But it is a really good song, and it's really glad that I'm really glad Shriekback are still out there kicking ass. I think this guys reach that age where they just can't fuck up. Like everything they write is super good. So that is that. Now we will move on to the favorite Talking Heads song section of our program. You know, folks, my mother once said, if you can't say something nice, you're probably talking about David Byrne. So in this instance, we are going to have to talk about an episode of Documentary Now called Final Transmission. I knew somebody was going to bring it up. I'll address it. This is the episode in which Johnny Worster, playing the drummer for the band Test Pattern, basically says, I'd like to buy a Camaro. It's a little Dead Milkmen in joke. I imagine it is hidden in there. But what happens is it's a lot of the music press, because, you know, a lot of people bow to David Byrne. They were like, oh, it's a good-natured poking fun at David Byrne. No. This was Documentary Now lowering their pants and taking a shit on him. And the best thing about this video, Dean had mentioned the Rutles tune, Cheese and Onions. There's one I'm recommending from this. It is a song called Art Plus Student Equals Poor. the best parody of a Talking Heads song you will ever hear. I mean, it nails it. They really got that. I myself am more of a Tom Tom Club fan. I think that the other three members and you know, Chris, Tina, you know, Jerry, if you're watching this, give me a call. We'll work. I tend to like Tom Tom Club a little bit better than and that's because David Byrne just sucks the joy out of everything. But I will say that if you want to hear what could be done with a Talking Heads song in other hands other than David Byrne's, there is a cover of Burning Down the House by a band called Carbon 12. I think I've mentioned it on the show before. If you're DJing, keep this song in your back pocket. And if things start to slow down, take this song out. I'm kind of breaking my rule by taking something from the last century. This song came out in 1999, but I think I can fudge that one enough. Yeah, seriously, Carbon 12. It's off of an album called Very Harsh Frequencies. Their cover of Burning Down the House just slays. So that is pretty much what I got. I know I went all the way around, but as long as I got to smuggle a reference to Ambassador 21 into this thing, I feel good with myself.
I love Bill Hader in that episode.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's so sad in that episode because he's never. What happens is when he's not getting paid, he's not getting credits. That's a true thing. David Byrne used to try to take sole credits for things that were written by the band. So yeah, he also when Tom Tom Club when their album went gold, he got really upset. So yeah, that's Bill Hader is basically, I think he must have sat down with Chris and Tina and just said, read me off your list of grievances.
Psycho Killer is a song by Talking Heads that was written by Chris, Tina, and David together. And it's not a terrible song. In fact, I've enjoyed it many times. But a song about building. I'm going to say the song I like about buildings is by Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I don't know if you know who they are. They are a super group. I guess David Crosby was in the Byrds. Stephen Stills was in Buffalo Springfield, and Graham Nash was in the Hollies. And Graham Nash wrote this song by himself in less than an hour, he says, and it sounds like it too. It's called Our House, and it's about a house. It's actually about Joni Mitchell's house. And he wrote it after he and Joni bought a used vase and brought it back to the house on a drizzly day. And she put flowers in and he lit a fire and just enjoyed the company of Joni, I guess, in the house and sat down on the piano and wrote the song really quickly. And then they recorded it as Crosby, Stills, and Nash on a Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young. Came out as a single in 1970, right after the Ohio single came out. And it's you know, a pleasant, trite little song that I'm sure you've heard.
Yeah.
And the building is the house. The house is the home.
That counts.
It counts. Thanks. Food song. I almost picked a cannibal song, but I decided not to. And that was by the Descendants called I Like Food, Food Tastes Good. And they mention eating teenagers and whoever gets in his way because he's so hungry, I guess. That's cannibalism. But he also mentions eating burgers and fries and raw fish eyes. But I decided to go instead for a song called Sugar Sugar, which came out in 1969. And it's by a band called the Archies, who are a cartoon band. And it mentions candy and sugar. I consider that a food. And it's a very catchy number that gets stuck in my head a lot. Yeah, it kind of, I guess it equates sugar with a girl, a sugar candy girl. There's a candy girl in that song.
So it's about cannibalism too.
It might be.
Mike Nesmith refused to record that song. It was offered first to the Monkees, and Mike said no.
Well,
No.
I don't know why it's part of this Don Kirshner thing. That's who the Archies were. Not a real band. They're a studio musician band. Ron Dante was the lead singer, and he was also a member of a band called the Detergents, and also a group called the Cufflinks, who interestingly had a hit called Tracy in the charts at the same time as Sugar Sugar was in the charts. And one of the songwriters, Andy Kim, also sang backing vocals. Ron Dante sang lead vocals and backing vocals because he had such a wide range. He used multi-tracking to back himself up because he had a falsetto voice.
Nowadays, he roadies for Ambassador 21.
Go for
There you
Stoneburner. Is that it, Joe?
Yeah,
So,
And Joe, for the record-
Psycho Killer is your talking.
I'm gonna go with Psycho Killer.
Yeah, Tina
In an
Weymouth
earlier
wrote-
episode, I mentioned my favorite
Yeah.
Talking Head song was "Memories Can't Wait,"
Okay.
but today I'm going with Psycho Killer.
Yeah, and Tina Weymouth wrote sort of the bulk of that song. Like she gave the idea for I hate people if they're not polite. Like it's okay to kill somebody if they're
She
not
also
polite.
knew French.
She wrote the French. Yeah, her mother speaks French, and she wrote the French down, and David Byrne still got it wrong. And then he tried to sue the country of France, saying that he'd invented the French language.
Man, that guy has an ego.
He's cutthroat.
So is it my turn?
Yes.
What do you got for us tonight, Dan?
There's only four of us.
Song about food that I chose is by a band called Mr. Bungle, and it's called Squeeze Me Macaroni. And it's actually kind of disturbing a little bit because it's about, it incorporates like sex and food and even like other bodily functions. But I have a sample here of the first line of it. It's, I want to lock Betty Crocker in the kitchen and knock her up during supper, clutter up her butter gutter, hostess ding dong wrapped on egg roll around my wong, while Dolly Madison proceeded to ping my pong. And it just gets, it's great. It's hilarious. And the music is all over the place. And I had some runners up for food, but they're not even worth talking about. Building. I chose this song called 14th Floor by Television Personalities. And I guess I was kind of struggling to find a song about a building. And then earlier today, I thought of a couple other ones, but I like this song because it's simple, and it's a guy talking about he lives on the 14th floor of a building and he's looking over London, and the lift is out, so he's got to walk all the way up the stairs. I wonder if it's the 13th floor and they just didn't call it that. Did they do that in England too? Not putting the 13th floor on things?
In Europe, or I guess in England too, the floor on the street level is, I believe, known as the ground floor. And then the first floor is what we would call the second floor.
including the mezzanine.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
might-
I
I
don't
might
know if
have
you
that
guys know
wrong.
this song. What's that?
I said I might have that wrong, but our listeners can correct me, I'm sure.
We'll just edit that out. It's great because the song, it's like a little bit off rhythm. It's like they're not singing on key all the time, and it's this guy complaining about like living in this apartment, and he says like he doesn't even know his neighbors. He thinks the guy next door is Jamaican, or he could be an Irishman. And I don't know, it actually kind of reminds me of like that, like kind of like low budget stuff where it was just kind of like talking about your regular day, like boring stuff that's annoying, like having to go upstairs. So that's the building. And then for Talking Heads song, I chose a song that I don't think I've heard on any other record of theirs, but it's on a live album where they played in a house. And a friend of mine had it years ago, and there's a song called A Clean Break. I don't know. I'm going to see if there's like a YouTube or something kind of linked to it. But it's pretty early on in their days. But I don't know. It's just a great, it's kind of catchy, and it's like minor key kind of, I don't know. That's all. We'll probably find a link to it, I'm sure, by now.
Did you ever hear the old rockabilly song? I think it's like 30 Flight Rock. It's like 19th floor, I'm almost there. 20th floor, I'm out of it. That's kind of what that sort of reminds me of. But the guy, he's just basically his girlfriend lives on the 30th floor or something, and the elevator's out. He's just singing about like going up, because rockabilly guy. He'll climb those stairs to get some cherry pie.
You guys know television personalities?
Yes,
I mean,
do,
I
yeah.
know the band, but
Not personally.
No, we don't know them personally. No.
Like Joe Strummer was asked who he thought the ultimate punk band was, and he said television personalities.
Yeah, it always sounded to me like they were just making everything up as they went along, which I love.
Yeah, and what's funny, but it's like, and as Joe Strummer said in this quote, like it brought like an intelligent kind of satire to punk that punk needed that at that time to have the piss taken out of it or whatever. I'm probably misquoting him, but I think that I'm not sure, but I think the lead singer had some like psychiatric issues. I think
They say that about the Wiggles. Yeah.
I should look into that before I start talking. I heard that.
Yeah. He's sued by David Byrne now. I invented psychiatric issues.
We'll put out a record together.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about David Byrne is that art, I guess, exhibit he had where like all this, everything that you touch kind of plays like an organ key. I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. Like, and nobody else has done that kind of thing where like everything you touch in this building kind of makes sounds.
I didn't see that. Is there a video?
I don't know. Maybe I dreamed.
I've seen the Philly Fringe Fest, like every year would have these interactive things that you would walk through and everything you did made a sound. Now he's going to sue the Philly Fringe Fest.
Well, luckily he's got enough notoriety that people like me know that he did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of, I have to choose a Cannibal song too.
No, but it would be awesome if you did.
Well, the band No Go Tell, which Joe and I were in with my cousin Woods and our friend Chris Mahoney and Brian Michael, had a song called Cannibal Potluck. And we'll put a link to it.
People, go home tonight, or I imagine you might be home already, but you're probably naked. Put some clothes on and then write a Cannibal song. Do that, and I bet you'll come up with something that rockets up the charts.
We need a Cannibal song for our next record, don't we?
Give me 10 minutes once we're done here.
Okay. All right, folks, let's move on to recommendations. We're running out of time, probably. Recommendations. I would like to recommend a YouTube video, and it's part 1 of 3. The part 2 and part 3 haven't even been released yet, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend the whole series. It's from a channel called Smarter Every Day, which has a lot of really interesting videos that center around science. The guy's name who runs the channel is named Destin. a recent series of videos he did on the space telescope that just went up. What is it called? The Webb Space Telescope. His father worked on that, which is pretty interesting. So he got some inside video footage and explanation of what was going on with that telescope. But anyway, this new video series is called the Kodak Tour. How does Kodak make film? And he did a video a couple months ago where he had recently got into film photography. He got an old camera, and he was explaining to people in this first video, like, what film is and how it has the emulsion on it and how it works and everything. And he actually got contacted, I believe, by Kodak saying, hey, do you want to come up to our factory and take a tour and learn about how we make the film and all that stuff? So he did, and he posted the first segment, which is the actual part of it where they actually make the plastic film or the base of the film, where, so they go through the whole factory plant up in Rochester, New York. So part 2, I think, is actually how they get the emulsion and stuff onto that plastic film, and then part 3, I think, is going to be like how they packaged it all up and send it out. So it's worth your while if you're interested in nerdy stuff like that. That's my recommendation.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut mine down. I usually have 1,000 recommendations. Quickly, first one, apologies to Caitlin Doherty of Ask a Mortician. I should have brought her up in the last video, but I figure you people are watching YouTube. You've probably seen Ask a Mortician. It has like 100 billion followers, but in case you haven't, please check it out. We'll put up a link. It's a show that I really enjoy. I found out about Green Funeral from her. So I do recommend Ask a Mortician. It's really good. There's an episode about spirit photography that I think you'll really enjoy, how to fake one of those. Then I want to recommend from another channel that you folks might know about because, again, you're watching YouTube. It's Criminally Listed. I'm going to recommend one video from there, and it's called 3 People Who Were Murdered with Musical Instruments. Sometimes you'll see me kind of drift off and you think, what is he thinking? He's thinking about 3 people being murdered with musical instruments. So that's one of them. And then the last thing I'm recommending is my show for April, my radio show. I was on vacation, so I had to put together I made a quick theme show. It's all songs about hell and the devil. So you have like the band Beelzebub bass doing Welcome to Hell, but you also have an album referenced it. So you have like MC Chris from the album MC Chris Goes to Hell. So go through that. You'll pick it up quickly. I may in the future have to do one about cannibals. I might do a whole Cannibals theme show. But yeah, if you need music about hell, check out my radio show.
Quickly, I'm going to recommend a Bandcamp page where all the albums are free. And the artist is known as Hydrogen Bonding Process. And it's mostly ambient music or soundscapey stuff, and it's pretty cool. We actually know who the person is behind this, but I'm not sure that he wants us to reveal who he is, so I'll just leave it at that. Check it out.
Oh, that's it. Okay. I'm going to recommend journaling. If you, like I, struggle with regulating some of your emotions, journaling is a good way to process that by just letting yourself just like I used to write in between the lines and stuff, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I can just write however effing big I want and get and then by the time I'm finished writing, I've kind of like because my friend Amy got me this for Christmas, and we talked about that, the benefits of just kind of like getting your emotions out and how you kind of by the end of it are like processing things. And so yeah, plus I do like sketches and stuff too, or make origami stuff, paper.
There we go. Oh yeah, I got this book. I don't even need to write anything.
I want that. I actually do want to read that. What is it?
No, you don't, young fella. You're already making enough trouble in practice talking about the Wiggles being all a porn rock.
What is that book telling the public that Helter Skelter didn't tell us?
It's basically telling them that band Warrant They weren't afraid to sing about getting a little puntang there. I'm gonna tell you right now.
You said Frankenmanson when you brought up that book, and that is hilarious.
It is. That's he was in the band Warrant. Warrant stole all their songs from him and David Byrne.